Here with us we have Mr. Abdul Rahiman, Vice Chairman of Popular Front of India. He was former chairman of the organization and a leader from the inception of the organization. He'll be talking to us on recent current issues, the social issues of India, also about the priorities of the organization. Welcome Mr. Abdul Rahiman sir. It's nice to have you with us for this discussion here with Inside Media.
Thank you.
Yes, let's start the discussion now with the recent change of guard in your organization. Can you explain us about the new team and your priorities in the coming term?
Yeah, recently we have a leadership change. It's part of our organizational mechanism. Every 2 years, from the very inception of our organization, we were regularly conducting organizational elections from the bottom unit level to the national level. There is nothing new in that. It's a clear illustration of our internal strength, which is internal democracy. We believe in mutual consultations, and we don't have the concept of a permanent leadership, somebody permanently being the leaders and the vast majority permanently being the disciples. As usual, this time also there is change along with continuity. We are discussing the various aspects of the persons nominated for election, and ultimately we decide, and new faces are added, some old faces are retained, and there happens some change of responsibilities also. Thus, it's a very usual affair in our organization.
About the priorities?
Priorities is not related to leadership change. Our priorities are always decided by the changes, the emerging trends in the situations surrounding us. Of course, in the changing socio-political scenario of India, we feel that, the organization feels that, we have to undertake more responsibilities to save this nation from the clutches of growing trends of fascism and communalism and corporate economy control. In the last National General Assembly, which took a review of the past 2 years, and incidentally were the elections of the new leadership, the National Executive Council as well as the functionaries were taken place. We had a thorough analysis of the emerging socio-political scenario of this country, and we have the Assembly concluded reaffirming our commitment to take this community, society and nation to the path of human rights, social justice and democracy.
After 60 years of independence, Muslims remain one of the most backward communities in India. According to you, what could be the reasons?
You are absolutely right in stating that Muslims remains to be the most backward community among the different socio-religious groups in India. Muslims were bringing this point since long back, but fortunately a few years back the government appointed such a committee has testified that the Muslims are the most backward. There are many reasons. Of course, there are historical reasons for Muslim backwardness. At some point of time, because of the full involvement of our forefathers in freedom struggle and fight against British, they could not pay much attention to education and development. That's part of history. But that cannot be a justification for them, Muslims, continuing as backward even after independence. You see, the relative backwardness of Muslims in the independent India, their backwardness more than what happened before independence. They became more backward after independence. I think the responsibility has to be held by the government, political parties and the political system. A community which has gone backward due to historical reasons, it is the responsibility of the government. It is the responsibility of political parties, the political system, to take special care of them. But in spite of that, in practice, what we have seen, contrary to the commitments in the constitution and the promises that were given to Muslims during every election campaign, they were subjected to purposeful discrimination by the government machinery. And the political parties, the governments, whether at the center or in the states, were not at all sincere, committed for the development. So now the request of the community, the demand of the community is that at least at this late period, though it is very late, it is better late than never. So let the government undertake, fulfill its responsibility of equally empowering all sections of the society. Equally empowering. Muslims are more backward, then that means they need more consideration, more affirmative actions, more reservation, more funds, more schemes. So that is the duty and responsibility of the government. And the political parties have to create an atmosphere conducive for their development.
We have also witnessed a change of guard in the government of India, in the central government recently, in the last election. Now we have Mr. Narendra Modi in the center of power. What impact do you think this change will make in the socio-political situation of India?
Of course, there is a change of guard, and it is very important also, and nobody can ignore it. But we don't find it as an immediate, drastic change. It is the culmination of a continuous process of communalization of Indian politics and administration. Of course, BJP and their government is in some way different from the previous governments, the Congress or UPA governments. But we find that during the past many years, specifically from 1980s, which witnessed the Mandal and Kamandal revolutions, Mandal revolution and counter Kamandal revolution, spearheaded by Sangh Parivar, and the communal appeasement policy of the Congress government, particularly the Narasimha Rao government, which is responsible for the destruction of Babari Masjid. I think this process of a soft or hidden Hindutva communalization has been carrying on, and the secular parties could not check it. Rather, they were in some way or other. I am not saying that they were deliberately promoting, but their policies also happened to promote the communal fascism. And you know, the political gain of BJP is not something came out of Modi magic or Amit Shah magic. Actually, it is the result of the communalization or politicization of the communalization of the politics, the creation of the hate politics by Sangh Parivar since the last 90 years. And now it has come to, we don't say that it's a finishing point, but it has come to a turning point where they got an absolute majority of their own. So of course it makes some difference, but you must also see that it is not the first time that BJP or a BJP alliance has come to power. So the nation of India, the people of India, the minorities whom they target are strong enough or capable enough to overcome this situation and to bring back a democratic atmosphere, an atmosphere of social amenity and harmony. And we firmly believe that the Indian nation, Indian society is capable enough to overcome this spirit and bring back the basic values of this nation again.
There are observations about fascism slowly taking the center stage of Indian polity. Issues like love jihad, ghar wapasi, saffronization of education, and many things like that. Do you think it is time to be concerned?
Of course, it's a matter of concern, but there is another aspect. The Indian administration, the security agencies, the intelligence agencies, were playing a pro-communal, pro-Hindutva, and ultimately an anti-Muslim or anti-minority cards, even under the so-called secular governments. So now, since BJP or Hindutva, Sangh Parivar has power under their absolute control, they are in a position to implement it more vehemently. But our concern, this is a gradual phenomenon we have been seeing for many years, even under secular governments. But our concern is of the communalization of the Indian society. In the last election, unlike the previous elections, we have seen a rapid communal polarization. Hindus voting for the Hindutva parties, and it has become only the business of Muslims to save secularism in this country. So the communal divide of the society is more dangerous than the communalization of the politics and administration. And we think that this is a more serious issue that all peace-loving people of this country should seriously address. And you have told about Ghar Wapasi and love jihad like propagandas. You see, this is also not the first time that for creating a communal divide and for instigating communal riots and for spreading communal violence, they have been adopting one or other means. The Ram Janmabhoomi movement, the Ratha Yatras, the hues and cries for the destruction of Babari Masjid were more vehement tools that they have employed in the past. So every time when they feel that new techniques are needed, new tools are needed, they go for new propagandas. And everybody knows that love jihad is a created myth. Young people, girls and boys, fall in love occasionally, and the family, Indian family system, under Indian family system normally the parents don't tolerate it. But you see, this is happening between Muslims, Hindus, Christians, boys, girls, etc. But nobody talks about a love crusade or love Kurukshetra. But they are talking about only love jihad. They have been out of context connecting two very beautiful concepts and giving a wrong, preparing a wrong agenda. Love is a very noble sentiment, and jihad is the struggle for peace, struggle for justice, struggle for rights. This is also a reflection of the human instinct. So how these people are out of context connecting noble concepts to spread or to implement a false agenda, very dangerous agenda. And Ghar Wapasi, what is Ghar Wapasi? We are not interested in this, because for Muslims or Christians or any other religious faith, I don't think there is a need for forceful conversion. But the freedom of faith, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, the right of an individual to remain in any religion or to shift to any other religion, this fundamental human right which is enshrined in the Indian Constitution. I think the ultimate motive of these people, these forces, is to ban conversion. So they want to create a situation in which the Muslims and Christians, the minorities, themselves will demand for an anti-conversion bill. But as representatives or members of the minority Muslim community, I don't think there should be much worry about it, because most of these things are media hype, media creations, and I don't think people from Christianity and Muslims, or even from Hinduism to Islam or Christianity, that people are converting at a large scale. It is not like that. Nobody tries for that, and nothing happens like that. So this is also something they are creating a myth purposefully out of nothing, just like love jihad. The same is the case with Ghar Wapasi.
It's a fact. the Muslim community suffers the most from the hands of Indian fascism, or it's called Hindutva fascism. So, according to you, what is the way out, or what is the success strategy for the community to overcome these challenges and go ahead to the future?
Quite recently, much documents have been published about the connection of Hindutva, San Parivar ideology with Hitler's Nazism and Mussolini's fascism.
Yeah.
So when we examined the basic ideology of Nazism, fascism or Hindutva, we find that they are built on an ideology of hate. They want to create another. They want to show an enemy to consolidate a particular class of people against another. So, their ideologues like Goldwasser, the much quoted bunch of thoughts, he has very clearly stated decades back that Muslims, Christians and communists are the internal enemies of the nation, which means that they are the other and they are the artificially created enemies, so that the Hindus on the other side will consolidate themselves to fight this other or the enemy. So the Muslims, and among these three enemies, the history of the San Parivar since the last 80 years have proved through their actions that Muslims are the prime targets. So for Muslims, the primary responsibility of the community is to have an open approach to the other communities and to build up very good social relations, good neighborhood relations, very good business relations, very good friendships, and to convince the Hindu brethren that we are not the other and we are not the enemies. So the Muslims should have more openings to outside their communities. And second part is to building a broad-based alliance. Muslims are not the only enemies. Muslims are not the only targets. And by the triumph of the San Parivar ideology, it is not only the Muslims who are going to collapse. It is our society. When the communal tension is built up, it is not only the life of Muslims are disturbed, the life of all communities are disturbed, and the whole society. And when the different communities fight each other, then the very concept of the integrity of the nation is thrown to pieces. So Muslims should build broad-based alliance with all these non-Hindutva fascist groups. And I think if they are able to go along with these, all the broad-minded, secular, democratic, peace-loving sections, I think ultimately the San Parivar agenda will get defeated. And number three, along with that, freedom, justice and security are fundamental rights of any community. So as a community, when their life is threatened, their properties are being captured, and even their families are being targeted, I think the Muslims have to identify the ways and means of social security. Social security in collaboration with other communities, other sections of the society. So these are the, and above all, Muslims must promote the ideological and intellectual defense that is going on. Because there are so many intellectuals, so many groups, human rights groups, who have undertaken the responsibility of defending this fascism through intellectual and ideological means. And a political consolidation is also a political consolidation. And Muslims also have to contribute to the extent they can, in the ways they can, to build a political opposition also to the political agenda of San Parivar. So, in short, the Muslim as a community, targeted community, they being the prime victims of the Hindutva assaults, they must have a multifaceted agenda to move on forward and to overcome this crisis, at least in the long term.
Now, recently, it's not very recently also, there are a lot of speculations or discussions going on about the connections of Indian fascism with the corporate world, with the multinational forces and such kind of things.
Yeah.
What is your comment on that?
Swadeshi mantra and Videshi seva, in one word. That is what the comment that is from. You know, the Swadeshi mantra has been chanted every now and then when they were in the opposition. While in opposition, they were objecting to each and every pro-American policy of the UPA government. Of course, they have a communal agenda. That communal agenda is not a Swadeshi agenda. This communal agenda is against the interest of the Swadeshis, the Indian people. And they love more, or they are connected more to the foreign elements than the Indian elements. So it is quite natural. They are in the seva of the corporates, both domestic as well as foreign. So the natural thing is happening. And in order to cover up this again, they have created some outputs, specifically just Swadeshi Jagaran Manch, which will still continue to chant Swadeshi, mantra continuously. But no sensible, no sane elements will further believe in this. They may be able to cheat Indians, the Hindus, some more time, but we don't think that they will not be able to cheat always everybody.
Thank you, EM sir, for coming and sharing your valuable time with Inside Media with us today here. Thank you again. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for watching us. Stay tuned. We'll be coming back with more interviews with eminent personalities like this again. Thank you. Thank you very much.